Hello, it's your friendly neighborhood host JT Wheatley back for another edition of the History of Comics podcast. This time with another segment of the classics with the classic 1998 graphic novel Road to Perdition by writer Max Allan Collins and art by Richard Piers Rayner, which is a classic story about a young boy who grows up admiring his father during the 1930s Great Depression in Chicago, not realizing that, in fact, his father is a hitman for the mob, and when a tragic event occurs, he finds him on a road trip trying to preserve both their lives. Max Allan Collins arguably makes one of the best crime comic books in recent memory, really getting into those classic 1930s crime stories and so forth, with mixing in some classic crime figures, such as Al Capone makes appearance and so forth. And it's matched beautifully by Richard Piers Rayner's gritty, almost photorealistic art, has a nice, gritty film noir texture to it that really matches the gritty of the story. And in many ways, this is a lone wolf and cub, but done in 1930s gangster film, works brilliantly. The father-son dynamic is very well played out throughout, and it's one of the best crime comic books, like I said, in recent years, and was made into a pretty good comic book adaptation in the 2002 film by the same name, Road to Perdition, directed by Sam Mendes and starring Tom Hanks, of all people. Yes, that is a comic book movie, as Road to Perdition is considered now a classic crime book, and highly recommend both check out the book and also check out the movie. It's pretty darn good. If you're looking for a good crime comic book, you can look no further than Road to Perdition, because that is a true classic.
My name is Mark McCrae, and I'm the author of The Best Saturdays of Our Lives.
I'm Dan Klink, co-host of the Best Saturdays of Our Lives podcast.
The Best Saturdays of Our Lives features programming trends from the 1966 television season all the way through the last hurrah of the early digital age of the 1990s.
On the show, if it's animated, we talk about it.
Order your signed copy today at tbsool.com.
And listen to the podcast at esonetwork.com and all podcast platforms.
Now is February 3rd, 2022, time for the favorite comic book of the week, Dark Knights of Steel, number 4 by Tom Taylor and Bingel, which is basically a flashback origin story that gets into how Bruce Wayne, taking place in his medieval fantasy take on the DC universe, ended up being the illegitimate son of Jor-El, and what happened to his original of the Waynes who were originally rulers of the kingdom, and so forth. As mysteries come to light, then Bruce Wayne the Dark Knight has now must the decision about where to take his kingdom now after the wars about the brew. This is a great story, once again, by Tom Taylor. He does a perfect job mixing in fantasy, medieval elements. It's honestly the best way to describe it is DC meets Game of Thrones in the best possible way. And especially when he does a great way of mixing and matching each character, especially with the person who was ultimately responsible for the death of the Waynes, is really, when you think about it, is perfect, since this version of Batman Bruce Wayne is almost an anagram of also a Superman as well. So when you see it, it makes perfect sense. And it's matched by Bingel's art, who's different from the previous artist, but has a nice medieval fantasy feel, and it's more of a flashback book. So it works perfectly. This has been, so far, Dark Knights of Steel has been some of the most fun of the DC Maxi series in recent years, and I can't wait to go. 12 issues might not be enough. It's so good. And with that, that's this edition of the Classics. Join me again next week for another edition. And I also want to give a shout-out to my friends, the Fall Horsemen, James and Jessica Moser, who has a YouTube horror channel, and along with their work on Facebook and Instagram and so forth. Please check them out. They do great YouTube videos. Like I've said, I may have promoted this before, and someone you may see me pop up from time to time, and you get reminded why I have a face fit for podcasting. But yes, please check out their YouTube channel if you can. And also, please go out and enjoy yourself a good comic book. And if you can, go out and read The Road to Perdition, because that is a true classic.